Why would God stop the greatest leader in Israel's history at the edge of the Promised Land? Moses confronted Pharaoh. He split the Red Sea. He spoke with God face to face. Yet when the journey was almost complete, God said no. Most people think the answer is simple. One mistake, one act of anger, one strike of a rock. But the Bible reveals something far deeper and far more unsettling. Before we go on, hear this clearly. This story is not mainly about Moses. It's about what happens when responsibility is high, obedience is delayed, and God's character is misrepresented. Stay with me, because by the end, you'll see why faithfulness does not erase consequences, and why grace still speaks louder. Here is the first reason Moses never reached the Promised Land. Moses let frustration speak louder than obedience. By Numbers chapter 20, Moses is not the same man who once trembled before a burning bush. He is tired, he is worn down, and he has carried the emotional weight of a rebellious nation for decades. The people complain again about water. Not once, not twice, but repeatedly. And this time, Moses has already buried his sister Miriam. The loss is fresh, the pressure is heavy. And when the people accuse him again, something inside Moses snaps. God gives a very specific instruction. Speak to the rock, and it will give water. Not strike, not shout, just speak. But Moses shouts instead. Listen, you rebels! Then he strikes the rock, twice. Water flows. The miracle still happens, but obedience did not. This moment teaches something uncomfortable. God can still provide, even when his servant disobeys. But provision does not mean approval. Moses allowed emotion to replace trust, and leadership does not remove accountability, it increases it. Here is the second reason Moses never entered the Promised Land. Moses misrepresented the character of God. God wanted Israel to see something powerful in that moment. Not anger, not irritation, but mercy. God wanted the people to understand that even when they failed again, he was still faithful. But Moses' response changed the message. Instead of seeing a patient God, the people saw a furious leader. Instead of grace, they saw frustration. Instead of mercy, they felt condemnation. And this is where the weight of leadership becomes dangerous. Moses was not just expressing emotion. He was shaping how people understood God. When leaders misrepresent God, people misunderstand him. That's why Scripture later warns that teachers will be judged more strictly. Moses stood as God's representative, and in one moment, he distorted God's image. The sin was not only striking the rock, the sin was making God look harsh when he was being merciful. Now comes the third reason, and this one is hard to accept. God holds those closest to him to a higher standard. Moses did not guess what God wanted. He didn't assume. He heard God clearly. He had more revelation than anyone else in Israel. Jesus later said, "To whom much is given, much will be required." Moses had been given much, authority, access, and intimacy with God. And because of that, his obedience mattered more, not less. This reveals a sobering truth. A long history of faithfulness does not cancel one moment of disobedience. Past victories do not excuse present failure. The closer you walk with God, the heavier obedience becomes. Moses' punishment feels severe only if we forget how close he stood to God. Now we reach the fourth and deepest reason Moses never entered the promised land. Moses was never meant to bring the people into rest. This goes beyond discipline. This goes into symbolism. Moses represented the law. The law can guide. The law can command. The law can expose sin. But the law cannot save. It was Joshua, whose name means "the Lord saves," who led Israel into Canaan. The message is clear. The law can show you the promise, but only grace can bring you into it. And this is where Moses' story stops being history and starts becoming personal. Because the tragedy of Moses is not that he failed. It's that he failed after a lifetime of faithfulness. Moses reminds us that spiritual success in the past does not protect us from spiritual failure in the present. You can walk with God for years, pray powerful prayers, lead others faithfully, and still be vulnerable in moments of exhaustion. Burnout does not announce itself loudly. Sometimes it shows up as impatience, sometimes as frustration, sometimes as anger we justify because we've done so much already. Moses teaches us that obedience is not measured by how long we have served God, but by how carefully we listen to Him right now. Another lesson from Moses' story is this: God cares deeply about how He is represented. Moses didn't just disobey. He made God look different than He truly was. And that should make every believer pause. God's no is not the same as God's never. Moses didn't enter Canaan in his lifetime, but he entered it in God's time. What he couldn't reach through obedience alone, he reached through grace. This teaches us something deeply comforting. God is not finished with us just because we fail. Failure may close one chapter, but it does not erase the entire story. Moses also teaches us about unfinished dreams. Some promises are fulfilled through us. Others are fulfilled beyond us. Moses didn't lead Israel into the land, but he prepared the people who would. And sometimes faithfulness means accepting that we won't see the full result of our labor. That is not loss. That is legacy. Finally, Moses teaches us that standing close to God is both a privilege and a responsibility. Closeness brings comfort, but it also demands obedience. Intimacy with God does not lower the standard, it raises it. And yet, the beauty of Moses' story is that his life does not end on Mount Nebo. It ends in glory. So the real question isn't just why Moses didn't reach the promised land. The real question is this: when people watch our lives, do they see God as He truly is?